Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. How's it going? Welcome to the Reseller Show, session number 35. My name's Andy Lawrence,
And my name's Kev Blackburn.
and I hope you're doing just fine and dandy this evening. What a swelter we've got going on in the UK. I don't know how the weather is over with you, Kev, but it's absolutely sweltering down here in the south. How's it going with you this evening?
Oh, it's so warm. It's so warm. But yeah, I love it. What an outstanding start to the week. I
Fantastic.
absolutely love it. Super exciting. Everything's we're all busy. Q3 is well and truly on its way. And I'm super excited for another episode of the Reseller Show to hang out with my favorite community.
Let's
Amazing.
do it. Let's make it happen. All right. Let's see who we've got on the YouTubes. I haven't logged in yet. Let's see who we got in terms of an audience with us this evening, shall we?
Yeah, of course. We do have just, I guess, to kick us off right for some amazing news in the community. We've got our good friend Luke out into a warehouse. Have you been checking out his Instagram posts and his
I
videos and
have.
things?
I have.
I
Yeah,
love it.
he's been telling me all about it. He's really excited about it, and understandably, it's get that feeling of coming into a new premises for the first time and the possibilities. That feeling of
Oh,
possibilities in the air is fantastic, isn't it?
I absolutely love it, and yeah, he's been sharing so much. It's great. That's what I love about this reseller community, because when you start to share like what you're doing from a day to day and what's happening in the warehouse, and Luke scraping out his walls, and it's just that to me, I love that stuff. That's super.
Yeah.
It's crazy, really, when you think that like we get really excited about stuff like that, going into a brand new warehouse,
Yeah.
just the possibilities. Congratulations,
Absolutely.
Luke! Amazing.
Yeah, no, it's really cool. It's great to. It's always good to see, isn't it? Yeah, there's. I know that Luke's going to make a great use of it, and he's got lots of good plans for it. And yeah, so it's good to see him moving
Mm,
onwards and upwards with his business. So yeah, it's always a good milestone worth celebrating.
yeah,
So I'm glad he's pushing on now and pushing the limits. It's great to see.
yeah. I I've been talking to him on Instagram and things, and we had a great conversation earlier on about just it's another level of thinking. You know, when you change your environment and
Yeah,
you go into a warehouse, like all of a sudden you think bigger, you think of the potential, it creates what I call like this vacuum effect, where you just have all these amazing brand new ideas of where you can take your business and what you could
yeah,
potentially do in this in the warehouse. Can you bring other streams into place? Can you expand from books to wholesale? Can you go from wholesale to can you add some retail arbitrage? And it's a super exciting time. Plus, it's amazing time going into Q3. By the time he's put all his work together and he's got everything sorted in the warehouse in terms of the cosmetics of it and got it all set up, he's going to be loving life come Q4
absolutely.
for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Looking forward to watching his journey. So if you don't follow Luke Pastor on the Instagram's the best way to watch his journey. I think he's the book picker on Instagram. Is that the right handle? I think is it just the book
Yeah.
picker or the UK book picker? I can't quite remember. I think it's just the book picker.
Yeah.
But yeah,
But
it's worth
yeah,
watching. Yeah, the
I
book
think we
picker.
said that exactly at the same time then, Andy. We were just like, but yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah,
look, follow Luke.
yeah, do that. Yes, it is the book
Yeah.
pick. I've just double checked. It's yeah, check him out on Instagram. His stories are always interesting, and yeah, it's you can learn a lot from his journey with selling volume used books on Amazon. Some really good
Mm,
content. So let's say hello to people in the chat, shall we? As we've been going for a little while. We've got Sean's in as usual, first in. Sam's in. How you doing, Sam? Good evening, sir. Kev's also in. How you doing, Kev? Good to see you. Simon Hesse, good evening. Always ready to go. Mark Clay and Colin Adams, good evening, everyone. Who
yeah.
else?
All the regulars are in. Really appreciate.
Joe.
We are going to have to do something. We're going to have some type of rewards or some type of celebrations, or I don't know. We'll figure something out where we
Yeah.
have some reseller show. I don't know, veterans.
Yeah, team reseller show. Chris is in, and Maureen's in as well. Good evening. How's it going? It's Jonathan, by the way. I know it's Jonathan. Obviously, I didn't think it was really Joe.
Yeah, good to see you guys.
How you
Oh, it's
doing,
awesome.
Jonathan? Good to see you. I must have figured out it was you before. I don't know why I didn't recognize the username. Yeah, good to see you, Jonathan. Yeah, alrighty. Vladimir's in as well. Alrighty, we've got a packed house this evening, so why don't we crack on then, Kev, and get stuck in? So yeah, we've already had a good piece of news with Luke and what he's doing over there with his warehouse. What have we got going on in the news this week, Kev?
Well, there's been a number of latest news from Des that she spotted, but one headline that did streak, I guess, did I was thinking about was this: how Shopify's new fulfillment service puts in competition with Amazon FBA, I guess. I've
Mm-hmm.
not looked at the link yet, but have any of you guys in the chat, have you guys heard about this? Is Shopify doing some type of fulfillment service? What's the idea here? Do you know, Andy?
I do not. I do not. I've just I haven't had a chance to look at it myself, but it does sound like an interesting idea. If they're going to go down the route of having a fulfillment center like Amazon, then any opportunity like that, I really did think that that eBay would be next to do something like that and really stump up against Amazon. I haven't heard any more about that. They were trialing some ideas, and it would be great to see if eBay could step up with a fulfillment solution. Haven't seen or heard any extra gossip about that, so I don't know. But yeah, if
Yeah.
Shopify is going to be the next up, I mean, they've got plenty of money. They're a massive platform, and if they can make that a reality, then who knows where we're going to be? It can only be good news, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we will put some show notes a little bit later, and we'll put this link in the description. But it does say that they're planning on investing $1 billion into a network of fulfillment centers across the US to begin with. But when you think of Shopify, they it makes sense really, because when I think about Shopify and when I think about eBay, I just think that Shopify is maybe the more current, maybe the business that is more always looking at the current technologies that's available. I don't know whether you've had much experience with Shopify stores, Andy, but the amount of apps and integrations and the things you
Mm,
can do, and how customizable it is for anybody to pop up a store. They seem to be a lot more in the current times and
yeah.
taking advantage of all the creative technology that's out there now. Whereas
Hmm.
eBay, when you think of eBay, you think of like they're maybe sort of the granddads of the platforms nowadays, and
Yeah,
they're
that's
maybe
right.
a little bit slow to come out the blocks at this point. And
Mm,
Amazon, they definitely need some type of competition at some scale, and it's going to take billions, and it's going to take
oh yeah.
the best part of a decade to catch up, at least. Amazon, they're so far ahead.
That's it. And that's it. And you know what it's like? Money makes money. They've got so much money to be able to invest in new platforms, new innovations. And as we've talked about before, they've got whole teams and other businesses within businesses just looking out for the latest technology, trialing them, seeing what works. And when you've got that momentum, I think it's going to be very hard, even for a company with a lot of money. It's going to be hard because even if they make progress, the Amazon have always got that power just to come in and crush them. So who
Well, it's
knows
something
what's
we
going to happen?
discussed, didn't it?
Mm,
Something that we mentioned a couple of weeks ago. But it needs something. It does need something. I know this past weekend, I don't know whether you've seen any rumblings on Amazon, but a number of sellers have been was contacted in terms of plan of actions, and had some restricted products in their accounts. I literally was working with uh, someone this morning, working on some. I'll not go into too many details, but it needed a bit of a plan of action and things. So it looks like Amazon have done something over the weekend. Have you heard anything, seen anything, Andy?
I've not. I might have just seen the tail end of a few conversations, but I've not seen enough to get a real gist of what's been going on, to be honest with you, and to see that I take it that several people are getting the same thing, are they? Is it becoming more of a trend rather than just isolated incidents?
Well, I think Amazon, they tend to do that. I don't know. I should really try to trend when Amazon come in and they do something.
Mm,
But what seems to, I think it's like on every six months or so, they'll stamp their authority on maybe like restricted products, like
mm,
plan of attack. You've maybe not been suspended, but you want a plan of action. You've had this amount of restricted products. Have you
mm,
actioned them? Have you not actioned them? So I know at least a couple of guys that have had them across the UK and the EU. I mean, one of them was Dev. I don't know whether you know Dev Jordan, don't you?
yes, yeah, yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
Dev. Yeah, Dev put out on his Instagram story that he had a plan of action to do in France, I believe. So it
Mm,
looks like something gone on, and it just. I had a couple of people mention it to me, so I was like, "Oh, I
right.
wonder whether this is something that's occurring." Have you guys in the chat had any type of performance notifications, any interaction with Amazon over the weekend or anything? I'd love to
Mm,
know if this was how big this is.
yeah, Colin said, has anyone had hazmat reviews on their products? Had two this week already. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Not not personally.
No, I haven't had any sort of hazmat reviews, but that's interesting. It is
Mm,
interesting. We'll keep our eyes on that because I also saw earlier on in the week, and I can't remember who did the post, so I do apologise. But it was talking about this VAT. They'd spoken to somebody on Amazon about this VAT service,
yeah.
and somebody from Amazon said to this seller, and while I'm sort of talking, I'll look for the post, sort of saying that everybody should be VAT registered by October, whether you've crossed the threshold or not. Now, I've got nothing to back that up with. There's no
Hmm.
sort of, I have no sort of credible sort of notice to share with you or anything. But I just
Mm,
remember somebody saying they had a phone call off Amazon
mm,
saying, "Do you want to get into this service? And if you're not VAT registered, you're going to have to be VAT registered." And but be interesting to see how that develops as well. So
mm.
we've got a couple
Yeah,
of stories this week.
yeah, that's it. That is interesting. I mean, that's the difficult one to corroborate because it's a conversation between two people, and maybe if someone's trying to get you to sign up to a scheme, then they might try and
Well,
they
that's
might
an
try and aim it in that
yeah.
direction. Hey, so
Yeah, well, I found it here. It was Tom Roberts. He said, and that's the reality of it, right? So if somebody's trying to sell you something,
mm,
try putting a bit of the pressure on, try putting a bit of the urgency on. They're trying to get you over the line. But Tom said, and it intrigued me, and I commented on it, saying, "Oh, I'll look more into this." Got a phone call from Amazon account manager who was encouraging me to use Amazon's current promotion of paying VAT registration for France, Germany, Italy, Spain, and fulfilling your items in those countries. Well, towards the end of the phone call, he said that I need to be VAT registered in the UK if I'm using FBA. I explained that I am not VAT registered as I'm nowhere near the threshold and I won't be for a while. He told me that it did not matter and they had been told from October the 1st there will be a law change that will be potentially removing sellers who are not VAT registered. Is this misinformation by the account manager, or is this a change that I need to be aware of? Those 20 comments, it's in the online
mm,
arbitrage mastermind. I
yeah,
I don't know how true this is. This isn't obviously to scare anybody
mm,
um, or do anything other than as soon as I saw it, I was like, nah, I'm not too sure about
no,
this.
sounds
Um,
fishy to me, to be honest with you. Certainly,
yeah,
if they're using the words law change, if an actual law, if they do something like that, they give you a lot more notice. It's way more publicized. There'll be loads more talk about it. So
yeah,
if they maybe use the incorrect word and they mean an Amazon rule change, now we all know how quickly Amazon can try and change a rule and try and wheel it out. So that wouldn't surprise me if they suddenly gave you a month or so to sort your house out on a major change. That sounds like Amazon. But in terms of law, nah, no, not buying that
They're
one.
not. They're not lawmakers. Amazon, as big as they are, they're not lawmakers. They cannot
No,
sort of force legislation on us. That's the only government can
no.
do that.
Yeah, VAT is
But
something that is to do with your tax and nothing to do with them in that respect if you are fulfilling your obligations in the first place. But, we'll see. It doesn't make
yeah,
sense at the moment anyway.
no, it doesn't. But I thought I'd mention it because I see in the chat. I think Chris messaged on it as well. So Chris will maybe know a little bit more. But just interesting because that's what I love about these shows, and that's what I love
Mm,
about this show. Right? It's about having that conversation. That's what this mastermind's all about. The show's all
yeah,
about, really.
mm,
Have a
yeah,
conversation about it. I won't worry if you're watching this and maybe a little bit concerned and things. I wouldn't worry about it. Like it's
yeah,
one of those things where what if? What if this in the future? What if that in the future? And you're always going to have
mm,
that in business.
yeah,
What if Amazon
absolutely.
shut my account tomorrow? What if something happens in the warehouse right now and this roof caves in?
Mm,
That sort of thing. We
yeah.
can't predict the future. All we can do is be flexible and adapt with the time. So I'm
Mhm.
sure we will talk about it if something significantly comes out like this.
Yeah, yeah. I think one seller conversation between a seller support and one seller is far from a substantiated source at the moment. He may have misunderstood. They may have been on the wrong standing because if they were talking about Europe, that first part they were talking about Europe specifically, and maybe the communication actually meant that. If you want to sell in Europe, you have to be a VAT registered, and they got the wrong end of the stick, or then started talking about the UK. So all sorts of situations could be happening there, and until we hear more or know more, then we can only just take it for what it is, which is just a bit of interesting hearsay at the moment. But I can't
This
see it
is it, yeah.
happening. I really can't see the reason for it, in terms of Amazon's reach across the reseller program. We already know that we make up collectively a massive part of Amazon's sales. And if you were to turn off all the non-VAT registered, I wouldn't even like to guess what a percentage that would be, but I imagine it would be a reasonable percentage, quite a large percentage of smaller non-VAT registered sellers. And I can't imagine that whatever reason, I don't understand the reason, just to say you can't sell on Amazon if you know you're VAT registered. It would turn off a massive selection of sellers. So not sure
Yeah, I
about
can't.
that.
I can't see it happening. I can't
No.
see it happening. I mean, obviously we don't know the ins and outs on how Amazon are performing this year,
Hmm.
but as soon as if they do something that ends up affecting them in terms of ultimately the sales and the profit that they make,
Hmm.
they're gonna very quickly reverse things
Yeah.
and make change. And
Hmm.
but yeah,
See what
let's
happens.
talk
Got to
about
wait.
let's talk about something a bit more exciting.
Yeah. Let's
Sorry
do
about
that.
that, guys. Sorry
That's
about
all right.
that.
Yeah, no, it's all good. We should keep in touch with these sort of things. It's a little bit depressing, but yeah, I can only imagine it was a bit of crossed lines at the moment. But if you hear more, then I'm sure we'll get into that. But yeah, should we talk about the UK reseller conference?
Oh, how exciting is that? Yeah, of course.
Well, that's a thing that got launched. Was that launched last week? Last time we were chatting on Monday, because the actual order page is now live. I can't remember when I put that live now, whether it was live last time we were chatting. But
No, it wasn't. You was getting feedback on the name last
oh,
week,
that's right.
and
Yeah, that's right.
since
That's it.
then you've rebranded.
Hmm.
Great choice of name.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. Really, it kind of suits what we're talking about. It kind of sums it up. And so the UK Reseller Conference is the final name for the event. And I had a load of really good votes in the two Facebook groups of mine, and everyone chipped in. I think overwhelmingly everyone voted for the UK Reseller Conference. So in that time, rebranded, set it all up, set the website up, and got it out there. So early bird tickets are out and available for the event on the 27th of July. So really excited to actually launch this and get it going and start getting some bums on seats, because times are ticking. It's not long now, and I'm hoping to get a filled out audience of people ready to learn more about our reseller community and learn, take away some actionable tips and tricks to expand their business. So yeah, that's a thing that's happened this week. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah. Hey, I said what my thoughts last week, as well as on the old episode of Tribe of Arbitragers with Andy. I think it's a fantastic thing. Last year, I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was my first guest speech, and I went on for about 4 hours. Um, and I was there giving Andy everything I had, my life story. Look at all the action we've taken, and then about 3 hours in, I could start to feel Andy like this.
It's been half a day, Kev. Your half a day's gone by and you're still up there.
Yeah, and I had a Reezy. You should know Reezy Resells is a global star right now. Had Reezy next, and Reezy's like, carry on, carry on. But yeah, I loved it. It was fantastic. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'd love for you guys that are in the chat right now to give just to let us know if any of you guys are coming, because it's a great opportunity, obviously, for Andy and myself, being the Reseller Show host, to meet you guys. And what a great way to be together and have a drink and have a meal and whatever else the day will bring. It's usually an adventure anyway.
Yeah, absolutely, exactly. It's always good fun, and we've got some new speakers for this year that I'm looking forward to hearing speak. Reezy's coming back once again from Los Angeles, flying him in with his wife, and he's got some amazing stuff to share about his journey over the last year. He's gone from a decent business and social media presence to smashing 100,000 subscribers on YouTube and 57,000 followers on Instagram. He's just doing absolutely amazingly. He's been on the Gary Vee show. So much has happened, and I'm looking forward to hearing about how that has changed his business and what he can share his journey and how that's affected him. So I'm looking forward to that. All sorts of
Yeah,
people.
super exciting, super
Yeah,
exciting.
yeah, Natalie
And
Cromie as
Reezy,
well.
I spoke to Reezy the other night, and he's really looking forward to it as well. He don't, obviously, because he lives in the US, he don't come to this side of the world that often. I mean, it's not something you do every month, but I think he's going to be traveling over
Whenever I
to.
pay for him to come, he seems to come. It's funny, that, isn't it? Every time I
Well,
buy him a
yeah,
ticket, he turns up.
yeah. Just putting a word out. If anybody is here or listening to this on the podcast, or you're based in the US and you want to pay for me to come to the US, I am accepting flights.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was the first time he come to the UK when I invited him over a couple of years ago, and he came with Rosa and brought the whole family last year, which is awesome. And yeah, back again this year. He's definitely an Anglophile. He loves the UK culture. He really loves to visit the UK and all everything there is to offer in the language, and he loves all that. And we love to have him. He's a great guy. He's a great ambassador for our community, and he's got so much knowledge and experience on making money with Amazon. Literally, he just every time I listen to him, he's just got these little nuggets. It's like, oh my God, why aren't I doing that? Just from just having a chat and having a beer with him after the events and stuff, he's just dropping these knowledge bombs time after time. So yeah, he's a great guy, and you can't not but improve your business by speaking to him. So that's going to
Yeah.
be awesome as well. But
Oh,
I just want to go over the new speakers we've got for this year, because Natalie Cromie is coming in. We both heard her speak at the beginning of the year at the OA Summit, and she was amazing, wasn't she? The sort of information that she had to offer about her business and using keeper data to make decisions. And some really interesting ideas. I was really keen to have her share what she does with her business on the with my community, and what you can do, because I'm absolutely sure the sorts of things she was sharing are going to make a massive difference in people's businesses. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. Then
Oh,
there's
yeah.
and Matt Webley, obviously, I got to know Matt. We both have over the last year, and I don't think anyone knows more about sales and marketing than Matt does. So in terms of placing your business and getting into different business streams and that type of thing, maximizing your business, I thought Matt's definitely the one. He's done a lot of speaking in the past. He's a natural, and he's a good way. He's a good communicator. He's a good way of actually getting over the information. So that's going to be a good one. And of course, Luke as well. The reseller communities, Luke Pastor is going to be there. So yeah.
Yeah, Luke's in the chat. Happy days. He's good to see you, Luke. Again, congratulations. Amazing.
Yeah, if you watch the replay, Luke, we've been singing your praises and telling everyone about your new warehouse. So yeah, it's that was the beginning part of saying how pleased we are to see you in your new warehouse. So congrats again. Yeah, it's great to see.
Yeah, I'm super looking forward to it, Andy. It's going to be a really great day. I hope, if any of you guys are going to be coming, I'd love to see you there and hang out with you guys. I'm hoping myself the day afterwards, I'm going to be going on holiday. So,
oh, wow, the next day.
Yeah,
wow.
not the next day. I'm actually this is yours the Saturday. I'm going to travel home on the Sunday, and then hopefully on the Monday go on holiday. So
Great.
it's a jam-packed July. I mean, with July, it's the first month of Q3. The warehouse is rocking and rolling. Kylie's been absolutely non-stop here. The prep service is busier than it's ever been. So yeah, really looking forward to it. Plus, you guys that I'm hopefully going to go to London. But if you guys can't make it to London, there's also, I'm going to do another mastermind here. So you guys that are maybe interested in more of a warehouse setting, it's completely up to yourselves. People are spoilt for choice in July. You're absolutely spoilt for choice. You can go either south, you can go north, you can do both. I'm doing both. I'm looking forward to doing both. So
absolutely.
Yeah, you guys, if you are interested, I'm going to be hosting a mastermind here in July as well. So
awesome.
Completely up to yourselves.
Absolutely, it's going to be great. Looking forward to it. Alrighty. So, have we got any questions to answer for this month? For this week?
I believe Des has got a couple of questions that she's picked up. One from Sean. This is quite a big one, and I think Sean might be in the chat. So let me read this out. And wow, I can see me get. I have not read this yet, Sean. So I do apologise, but I can see me getting a suspension. All my anxiety is taking over and just paranoid. I've emailed Amazon what information I need to upgrade from sole trader to limited for next month. They think I'm already registered limited company by the response to this letter. I'm confused by their response. Yes, I'm a registered limited company with Companies House in November 2018 with the UK government last year, but company is dormant until later date and not being used. Now the later date is here and it's time, and I'm ready to open my limited company up, but they think I'm already limited company. Are they going to suspend me now when I respond back saying I was only sole trader? Told them in the email asking for information that they upgrade me from sole trader to limited company, and that's the response I get. And he's put some screenshots here of something to do with Amazon requesting information on his selling account. Basically, I think we're going to need to touch upon the whole transition from sole trader to limited company. Mm-hmm. It's obviously going to be quite difficult to relate to your specific circumstance right now, Sean, because I don't know what information Amazon are after. They may have got confused on what you've asked them to do. What's your thoughts on that, Andy?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't get too paranoid, is the first thing, Sean. They have a process that is involved and they go through these set things. And so, yeah, I mean, that's a long bit of information here to try and quickly skim through to try and get the gist of it. But it may be just a standard template where you have to answer their questions about the reason, this, that, and the other. Um, so, yeah, if there's any situation where they're getting the wrong end of the stick, obviously you're going to have to clarify. So I would definitely make things as clear to them as possible in case they are misunderstanding. But they may just be asking. It may just be a simple template request. I know actually Simon. Uh, Part of the reseller community, made an excellent post about his process and what he learned and what they're expected to ask and this, that, and the other. He did an excellent post, and I've actually got that and put it into the files section of the FBA Academy graduates, I think. So I can probably get hold of that and post that in the reseller group just to help you out there, Sean, because it's an excellent post, and I'm sure he won't mind me sharing that. But yeah, it's hard to tell without reading that whole thing. But I think I wouldn't be too worried if there's a miscommunication. Make sure you reiterate what you're trying to do and where you are in the process. But it is a process, and as long as you're prepared, and I know that you've got all your ducks in a row, Sean. So my gut feeling is you're probably going to be okay. Because you're not really, the thing is, what you have to understand, Sean, you're kind of not upgrading from a sole trader to a limited company. It's kind of two separate businesses in that way. So it might be the wording that is just confusing. So yeah, I would, without reading that entire post by Amazon, and there's a lot there, I would just get back to them and just get clarification to make sure you're both on the same page, because that's the important thing. But I'll, Sean, if you're reading this, I will let you know about that post that Simon put up because it was particularly good.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things in here. There's a couple of things. Number one, when you're communicating with Amazon, do your best to be very, very specific. Like, try to be as clear as you possibly can. Obviously, from an Amazon point of view, they're going to have lots of different templated responses. They're going to have lots of different people working. You know, some people may not fully understand what you're trying to say. So try your best whenever you're speaking to Amazon to put your cases in some sort of a clear way, whether that's sort of bullet points. Be just really quite specific. If there's any confusion whatsoever, don't hesitate to use the option to speak to someone, get a phone call back, and actually speak to someone instead of trying to communicate and try to resolve a problem through email and things.
Yeah.
Because when you just speak to somebody, it's going to be better. And finally, I guess if you are in a situation where you're going to be swapping over, like Andy said, there's going to be something in he's going to put something in the Reseller Show Facebook group going through this. But just speak to Amazon and get everything that you need first. I was thinking then when you mentioned there about Simon's great post. I think as time goes on with the Reseller Show, we may come up with some type of Reseller Show toolkit or some type of info file, just something that sort of frequently asked situation or frequently asked questions or frequently experienced situations where we can put a bit of a toolkit together for everybody that's watching, because we all we don't go all through exactly the same situations, but a lot of these situations are quite common for as you get going. Everybody goes through verifications. Everybody goes through ungating. Everybody goes through all these types of scenarios. And if we could do something, I don't know what, me and Andy might have a conversation on what we can maybe develop for you guys. And we'll just give you guys a free resource so we can always refer back to it.
Yeah, no, that definitely makes sense, Kev. There's a lot of steps that are well trodden, and a lot of really good answers. And the one that Simon put together was well worth keeping hold of. And yes, if we can get an FAQ or a resource or an index or something that will answer a lot of those questions, and then that will be an invaluable resource to people going through those steps for sure. So I think that's definitely a good idea. Yeah, Simon said he's actually already sent that to Sean, so he has already had a look at that, which is useful. But yeah, I mean, it shows you how different it was. Sam said he got suspended for 4 weeks while he was transferring. Chris said he didn't get suspended at all. Simon didn't get suspended either, but you hear of some people getting suspended and others not. So it really is so varied. Yeah, it is a very tricky thing to say this is going to happen and that's going to happen. It is what it is. So John says went limited March this year. Bank took ages. Only started using my bank account last week. They still have my address wrong, and so can't approach Amazon until that's all sorted. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely driving you crazy.
Yeah, it's so complex. There's so many things, so many different scenarios. What I would say, apart from the couple of things that I just mentioned there, if you ever need sort of a second pair of eyes or anything, use the group and just put like I'm about to message this to Amazon. Obviously, don't put any confidential information and things, and keep your confidential and private information private. But if you ever, I always found, especially with myself, when I went through an Amazon suspension and I went through the plan of action and I wrote out the plan of action and things, I always felt it was great to have another opinion and have somebody else just look over it and just for them to read it as well. And it's always good to do that. And I know certainly for the Reseller Show and anybody a part of the communities, really, if you ever get a scenario where you're in maybe a bit of bother from Amazon, or Amazon are requesting something, or you're not sure, just you can drop me a message, drop Andy a message, and we're going to help you out, and we're going to do what we can. I know this morning, like I said, with this plan of action, I was working through, and I'm convinced everything's going to be all right, because that's what we're all about, helping each other and getting yourself through and ultimately be successful. I want to see every single person this year leave this year with massive success.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what it's all about, isn't it? Just being coming together and making each other's businesses and lives better as a result. So yeah, it's just best way to do it. So yeah, I'm sure it'll be okay, Sean. I've got positive vibes coming in your direction, but get onto them. And yeah, if you can get a phone call, that sometimes speaking to someone will sort a load of miscommunications out so much quicker than you can by pondering what they mean by this or what this is happening or that's happening. So yeah, that's a good idea, just to get the communication barrier down. Get on the phone to them, find out what the situation is, and give them any information that you can, and just keep pushing on, really. I mean, ultimately, worst case scenario, you get suspended for a few weeks while they sort it out. It's not the end of the world. It is not like something you've done wrong. It's just a procedure where they will have to complete their checks and this, that, and the other. So I'm sure it'll be okay one way or the other, Sean. But yeah, it's just a case of making sure you've got all your ducks in a row, and the business, getting the business bank account up front sounds like a good shout. Simon said get it sorted ahead of time, as it will require a meeting sometimes, and that can have 2 or 3 weeks before you get a meeting. So that's all.
This is what it's going to take, right? This is the way I see it, right? I see when you are, if you're thinking about, everyone has their idea of where you're trying to build your business, right? So if you're trying to become a millionaire, or if you're trying to quit your job, or whatever your goal is, right? There's always going to be hurdles that everyone goes across, and there's always going to be stumbles, and you're going to have the scars, and you're going to have bumps and bruises, and you're going to have your head's going to get cut open and all the rest of it. You're going to have all sorts. I know for myself, I've gone through a suspension when I went from sole trader to limited, or an account verification where I stopped selling for those days. I had account suspension. You know, all these times when you're like, oh God, the world is over. But what I keep coming back to, and what keeps me going all the time, is going back to a classic of Jim Rohn. It's ultimately, it's not what you do, it's who you become. And if you're on your way to building a business and you're going to quit your job and you're going to take that leap of faith, like you're going to quit your job, right? That walk is scary. Do you know when you're going to quit your job? It's scary. And ultimately you're the only one that it's like one of those lonely walks. I remember myself thinking, do you know what? I've only just become an electrical engineer. I've worked 8 years for this first class degree. And now I'm going to walk into my engineer's office who's mentored me for the past 4 years and tell him I'm jacking it in to sell toys, right? It was a lonely walk. But I look at those experiences now, and back then that was like that was my Siri talking. Yeah, you know, back then that was like an 8, 9, 10 of anxiety. You know what I mean? Like, it was intense, sweating. I was like, oh, am I going to do this? Am I not? Now, some of the things I've gotten through with account suspensions and things, I'm thinking to myself, God, the person that I am now, that's probably like a 4 now. Do you see what I mean? It's because you grow. You grow and you go through experiences. So no matter what happens, like if you get an account suspension, if you get some failure, you lose money, no matter what happens, just see it as like it's another scar, it's another experience of making you who you need to become to get the results that you want. So one day, when you make it to become a millionaire, and somebody's asking you, what did it take for you to become a millionaire? You can say, do you know what? I was watching the Reseller Show while going around Sainsbury's. You know, that sort of thing. I was working. People were out on the nights out. They were out getting pissed at the pub. I was at home. I was labeling products. I was sourcing products. I was knocking. I was making the phone calls. I was doing whatever I had to do. There's the doorbell gone. I was doing whatever I had to do. I was sleeping less. I was sacrificing. You know, you've got to do what you got to do, and you're going to go through this. You're going to go through it, and you're writing your own story right now. So fast forward to 40 years time when you've got your grandchildren around you, and they're asking you, oh, what did you do in 2019 and 2020 with this amazing opportunity that we call Amazon and the internet and streaming on YouTube and all these things? Imagine the stories you're going to be able to share. Absolutely. Fantastic. That was my motivational.
Fantastic.
Come on, let's do this.
What a great monologue. Awesome. No, that's great. Even though you just about every interruption that there was one going.
I know, Siri, my ring doorbell didn't stop me.
No, still going strong. No, it's great. It's true. It's so important to say though, actually, Kev, because these things that come that feel like the end of the world and that are going to be sent to try us, then push our boundaries. They say, okay, well, I can do that, and I got through it. So now, like you say, the next time it comes along, you've reset your boundaries and you're stronger for it. So then your brain says, oh no, I can deal with this. I've dealt with this before, and you grow each time. And so they're all just opportunities to grow, even though at the time it may be hard to get through. But yeah, I absolutely agree with that. It's always a positive thing as you look back. It's an experience, and you've grown.
This is it. Awesome. This is it. You know, put a decade of your life, like blood, sweat, and massive action tears, as I like to say, just put in whatever you can. Like any moment of the day you've got, just work at it all the time. Because if you can put a small sacrifice in now, you can spend 3-4 decades of your life, like living life truly on your terms. Mm-hmm. You know, that is what I just completely. It's a done deal in my eyes. It's an absolute done deal. It's a guaranteed fact that I'm going to be successful because I just, like, no matter what happens, even if I lost it all, even if the entire warehouse was if somebody come through and I don't know, we got broken into and everything was taken, do you know what? I would just start knocking down doors down the street. I'll try to just make money. Like, I'm not going back to work. I'm not working for anybody ever again. It's just a done deal. I'll do whatever I have to do. I'd have my kids out. I'd be there with Theo. Like, this is how we make money.
Yeah, absolutely. Love it. Love the passion. Love it.
Yeah.
That's what it takes. That's what it takes, is that attitude of like, this is going to work regardless. Whatever happens, it's going to work. And I know that I've got the ability to make it happen. Fantastic. What an excellent sort of stirring monologue to start our week.
I know. Awesome. I should have started to put a bit of music up and just started to put that music higher and higher and
get a bit of Rocky on the go. Yeah, that'd do it.
Oh yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, you're going to be fine, Sean. I mean, these are things of stuff that are character building. You'll look back and you'll say, yeah, that was a pain. But it will be nothing more than you looking back and, oh, yeah, I remember that. That was a bit of a pain. You just push on. You push on through. You do what needs to be done. You attack it head on. You find a solution. You move on to the next thing. And that is what being in business is all about. There's loads of hurdles. There's going to be more to come. But you approach it. You don't run away from it. And you just tackle what needs to be done. And then you move on. That's what business is. Sometimes you're fighting fires. Sometimes something comes up and then there's just another thing that comes up and then another thing. That is what it is. That's why you're working for yourself. You are the boss. You are the business. And as a result, things are going to come your way. If you don't want that to happen, then you can go and work in home base or somewhere watering the plants, and you'll have a relatively easy life and you probably won't get too much grief. But that's not what we're here for. That's not why we do this. We don't do this for an easy life and just to take a paycheck home at the end of the day. We do it because we want something more, something better, something bigger, to be more in control of our destiny and to live a life, as you say, on our own terms. And that's important. And that doesn't get done by just sort of dodging the hard decisions. Sometimes the hard decisions come and then you've got to make them and figure it out and crack on. But, that's what it's all about. You grow as a result. You don't have to have all the answers, but you do have to have a will to resolve them and figure out stuff as you go along. And that's fine. And that's what we're here for, to maybe offer some friendly advice and some encouragement as you go along, because, we're all human. We've got our strengths and weaknesses, and maybe together we can figure out stuff that individually we might struggle with. So, we're always here. We're always here to help if we can.
Absolutely. I'm excited. I'm pumped up. I'm ready.
I can tell.
I'm ready. I'm gonna be on that trampoline. I'm gonna be on that trampoline after this. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to chew some nails.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. Right, let's go. So what do we have in terms of some other questions?
Yeah, some other questions. Let's have a look. Another shout out to Des. Absolutely loving the work that she's doing right now. So that was Sean. We also had, that Tom Roberts. He actually, Des picked that one up. That one's not. We got one from Paul Eggington, saying, confused about the number of reviews I have. Been selling since the start of the year, over 100 items, but only 2 reviews. I get an email from Amazon when I buy something. Am I correct in saying they would send an email to every buyer of my goods? Is it simply the case of people not responding to email? No, I don't think we've covered this one before, have we? About reviews and depending on what business model he's doing, of course. And
we might have, but we might have just touched on it briefly. But I guess it's an interesting point, and probably one that would go into the master FAQ actually, because if you're coming from eBay or you're new and you're just starting up, you may be under the assumption that reviews are something that everyone's going to leave. So if you've sold 100 items, you might get 100 views, or 98 or 78 or something like that, or 86. But the reality of the situation is reviews aren't as important as they might be on eBay, and aren't left by half the people. I think it comes down to the fact that the ethos on Amazon, the type of customer. Amazon has made it exceptionally easy to do your shopping, to get your stuff done. And it means that you can find a thing really quickly, make a purchase, move on with your life and carry on. And also that does mean that that half the time they don't even realize they're not buying from Amazon. They've just bought a thing, it turns up in an Amazon box, they're happy. They don't realize they got to leave a review, and probably half of them don't really care. They just want that thing and it's turned up and they're happy, and that's it. So most of the time you don't get a review or a positive response either way, and that's just a fact of the Amazon platform. You're not doing anything wrong. It is what it is. Sending over 100 items to reviews, a little bit low, I suppose, but not crazy. I wouldn't worry about it too much. They'll come when they come. You've got software that can help you if you want to go down that route. Some people think it's a good idea, some people don't. But yeah, to begin with, it's going to be slow. It's going to take a little while to get reviews, but I don't think it's a big issue for you, Paul. It's not a massive part of what you're doing, and the only time it becomes a problem is if you're sort of actual ranking percentages start going down and you're doing something wrong and people are sort of marking you down. Then that's going to be an issue in terms of people actually bothering to say, yeah, got my item, it's great, thanks. Don't really matter, so don't worry, I would say, Paul, and just as you grow you'll naturally get some reviews, but it's a very small percentage, so compared to how many you're actually selling. So it is what it is. It's a fact of the Amazon platform, and they'll come when they come, and as long as you're doing everything you can to be a good seller and hitting all your targets, then that's the main thing. What do you think, Kev?
You've hit the nail on the head, to be honest. I mean, one thing that I was thinking about the whole idea of reviews, if you remember maybe, we're probably talking 15, 20 years ago now. I mean, it's when people first started purchasing online and people had that sort of comprehension of like, am I going to put my credit card details on this computer internet thing? And people were worried and things. And that was a big thing. If you imagine when somebody purchased something back then, and then it just arrived, like you've just purchased something online,
Magic.
and it's arrived a few days later. It was a natural thing to go like, oh my God, I've just purchased this. Thank you so much. Great review. It was a great experience. I loved it. Like that was just what people did. It was like, but now if you think about, decades later, what's happened is it's just become so, nobody even thinks about it anymore. People, it's just a natural thing. I mean, people, it's got to a point where, I mean, I don't know the percentages of spending offline to online. That would be a fantastic statistic for me to see, actually, just to see what volume online sales compared to offline sales. Because over the last 20 years, obviously, online sales have just, it's transformed the way people do business. So the whole idea with the reviews, I would probably say what Andy said. Don't worry about them too much unless you're first starting out. Like obviously reviews, when you're just starting out, getting 5, 10, 20, 30 quick reviews under your belt is going to help you a little bit. If the worst case scenario happens, you get like 2 orders in a row and it's like, for whatever reason, whether it's your fault or not, it goes as bad feedback to you, even though it's like a product review or it's turned up damaged or whatever. But on your account, it's now knocked you to 50%. That is where it's maybe a bit of a concern right at the start. But as you're more of me now, like sort of 4 years on, I don't even, it's not something I would never, at my point, I'd never pay for a software to get reviews or anything. Just not necessary, because when you get a negative, it doesn't even dent anything. Yeah. That's not to say that it's not a key metric that you should be ultimately focused on. I mean, you should always look at your customer feedback. But I can understand right at the beginning, because right at the beginning, if you're just getting started on Amazon, it's a big thing. I remember very well. I think I screenshotted it when I first got that 5-star. I was like, God, I'm a good seller.
It's funny. I just wanted to go back to what you said originally about 10, 20 years ago. about it just being amazing. People don't want to put their details, credit card details online, and the fact that something turns up, it's that whole bargaining thing. Who are you going to pay first, or am I going to send the thing? There's that whole trust thing and getting used to that whole process. I'm fortunately old enough to be a reseller when people used to send postal orders. Does anyone remember if you ever received a postal order, Kev?
Andy, you're much older than me.
Unfortunately, I am, I must admit. So yeah, people would go to this is early day. Well, not even the early days of eBay. This was a thing on eBay before PayPal, or even at the same time as PayPal. Early days of PayPal, you would go to the post office, queue up in the post office, wait your turn after the little old lady's collected her pension and shouted her PIN number out 15 times because she can't make it work. And then you queue up and say, could I have a postal order for £1.59, please? And then they write that out and you give them your £1.59, you get a bit of paper and you put that in an envelope and then you write my address on it and then you post that to me and I receive this bit of paper and then I have to take it to the bank and pay that into my bank, which is just basically a monetary, a piece of uniform monetary symbol, basically. And then you pay that in like a generic check. And that whole process had to happen before you even send it. So it might be a week and a half goes by before you actually pay that in. Then you've got to wait for that to clear. It's like, yeah, that's in my bank now. I'm now going to ship it. Just write you an email. Yeah, thanks. Got the money order. I've just paid it in. I'm now going to ship your item. 2 weeks have gone by before they even think about getting their item. I mean, that's how far we've come. And how far we've gone from. Does anyone in the chat remember postal orders? It's a bit crazy, I know. You have to be a little bit old to remember that, but that was the thing before PayPal. You could choose PayPal or check. Someone would post you a check sometimes for tiny amounts. I'd get checks for ridiculously small amounts, then have to wait for them to cash or clear in my bank. And that could take up to 6 days. Sometimes it was horrendous. But that was the whole process on the early days. People didn't have the tools they have now. And now it's like nothing. You do it on your phone. Think, oh, yeah, I need one of these. I need another one of those. You bring it up. Yeah, that's what I bought last time. Click one button. It's done. You move on with your life. Just because you bought a thing that you bought last time. God, it make me feel old. Everyone's like, no, I don't remember that. I don't know what you're all about, Andy.
Hey, Andy, you're a seasoned veteran. You've got lots of stories to share already.
There must be someone that's over 40. Jesus. Oh, Maureen remembers. Thank God, there's someone. And Emmanuel. Oh yes, they're coming to my rescue.
Yeah, but you make a good point though. Like, I mean, I don't mean to go over history and things, but it does fascinate me. Like, you think back in the day, right? Go back hundreds of years ago. If something happened on the other side of the country, a letter or some lord would have to write something, and it would be on horse and carriage, and it would take 4 weeks for them to get to the other side of the country to tell the king or the president or whatever that there's something happened at the other end of the country, right? And it's been 4 weeks later, right? And then fast forward to like even what you were just talking about then, selling stuff and like postal orders, and it's going to take. I mean, a check. How old is a check now? Who's doing checks nowadays? Or even the banks now, right? The banks are getting outdated massively. Like, it's just there's going to be a huge shift. I'm convinced of it. I know Facebook have come out over the past week or so that they're going to come out with a cryptocurrency. Did you see that, Andy?
I heard about it. Yeah.
In 2022, I think. I just think that the technology and how instant things are happening now, like that example that I just shared there about horse and carriage and things. You think if something happens in Australia right now, we instantly know about it right now. We know about it immediately. It's become that type of world that we live in. So with the banks, the banks taking so long to. If I wanted to change a standing order for tomorrow, I can't do it. It can't be done. Like, why is that? It's just because the banks are outdated. That's the truth, isn't it? You should be able to, if you've got a standing order to pay tomorrow, you should be able to just change that immediately, right now. What's the problem? Yeah. Because things are slow still, and the way that technology is coming along, and now we've got it's got to catch up. And now that Facebook's talking about their cryptocurrency, and we obviously had that big boom last year about Bitcoin, and I'm not all that familiar with the cryptocurrencies, but I absolutely believe that we need to have the way the world is living and moving. We need to have like anything that's time,
Mm-hmm.
anything that you can make quicker. You're gonna make a fortune.
Yeah, I mean, there was a time with PayPal, it took quite some time. Do you remember if you did a withdrawal to from your PayPal account to your own account, would take something like 3 days or 6 days? I can't remember. And people were saying, "Why is it taking this long? It's just ones and zeros. There shouldn't be." And what they were doing, they were basically for those duration, they were keeping your capital and probably earning interest off of your capital. If you do that with enough people over enough periods of time, they're making loads of interest off of other people's money just by holding on to it for 3 days, and then, eventually people rules started coming in and say, you can't do that. This is not right. And all now you can click a button on PayPal and goods are in your account straight away. And it's, as you're absolutely right, Kev, there's no reason people have to come back to this and say, why is this taking so long? Why is that taking so long? It's only in the bank's favor usually. I mean, going back to what we were talking about with postal orders, things like that. If you order from a catalog, because obviously catalogs were the internet back then, if you had a big old book with stuff in it that you used to pour through, like the Argos catalog or other things, if you had to, Argos was different because you went and picked it up, but there was catalogs. You'd hear it on TV, please allow 28 days for delivery. 28 days for
Yeah.
delivery. And this is in the UK. You could
They
walk
put you
the
off.
length of the UK in 28 days.
I mean, if you try to purchase something now, and
Yeah.
unless it was something like handmade or custom made and it's been made for you, but
Mm,
anything now, if I was, you're just not going to be around as a business.
mm.
You're just not going to be around if you're selling things and you're saying it's going to take 28 days for delivery. Well, you
Yeah.
just lost 99% of your customers because
Mm,
we want things quicker. We want
yeah.
things immediately. And that's
Hmm.
why I absolutely believe as soon as the technology is available to have some type of, I know my mind just goes crazy with imagination, but some type of like 3D printing that immediately prints to me right now.
Mm,
Like I purchase some trainers, click the button and it starts to build right now.
mm,
That's the future. It's like Elon Musk. I absolutely love that guy. Such a visionary. What he's doing with travel. Have you
mm.
seen on his Instagram what he's doing with, like, for example, how long does it take you to get on a plane from here to South Africa? It's like 12 hours, is it?
12. Yeah, 12 hours. Yeah.
Yeah. Why is that?
Yeah.
Do you know what I
Well,
mean? Like, I
well,
know
it's
it's
a
a
long
long
way, to
way,
be fair.
and,
It's a fairly
and
long way.
I know it's absolutely a long way, but when we start thinking about, like, why is it taking 12 hours? And
Mm,
this is what Elon Musk is doing. Why can't you have some type of, instead of airports, have spaceports where people now enter a rocket and you're now
mm.
going to go from London to South Africa in 30 minutes instead? Like,
Mm.
that is where the world is heading. I'm convinced,
Oh, yeah,
at
for
some
sure.
point soon, it's going to happen.
Yeah, I can believe that. I can definitely believe that there are already technologies in place like these train tunnels that operate in a vacuum and stuff like that, which means that you can go exponentially quicker. Obviously, you've got the structure and the resources to put it in place, but I can easily see these sorts of things where travel time will be massively different, and we can just hop over to places a lot quicker. Um, yeah, that's definitely going to be the thing. Actually, I'm hopping over to Marseille for a few days. Actually, from Wednesday to Sunday. It's not going to take 12 hours. Luckily, it's going to take a couple, so not that long. But yeah, can you imagine if you just did that in 15 minutes or something like that? You just sort of walk through a gateway and then you materialized in the south of France. That'd be a pretty cool way of doing it, wouldn't it?
Hey, living the dream. I think it's going to happen
Absolutely.
in our lifetime. I really
Mm.
do.
No, I do. Absolutely. I agree with you. And like you're saying, if you think about the thing about where you're ordering it and it starts get building in front of you. That's like the replicator on Star Trek. Do you remember the replicator in Star Trek, and they're just punching what they want and it would just materialize in front of them? That's a pretty good anything you want. I mean, that would just be a bit freaky though, wouldn't it? Anything you want that exists in humanity. You just punch in a few things. I want a red apple, and it just turns up. I mean, that's just crazy. It would be so weird that it would just turn up. Although the replicator was never very big, so I don't know how you could fit anything you could think about in about 8 inches square. Anyway, I'm probably digressing, but yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I think it's just a fascinating thing, and that's why, we've not even scratched the surface. And I know we've gone a little bit like, imagining what if and things, and we've gone from postal orders to now we're getting to South Africa in 25 minutes. So it's amazing how the conversation goes. But I think the bottom line to everything that we've just been saying is we're in the right place. We're building a business online. There's 7.5 billion people, I think, something like that in the world. 45% of them not online at this point, I don't think. I don't know what the statistics are. We've got lots and lots of people to come online, and everything that we're doing now here, streaming to YouTube, it's just going to get even. You think Facebook have got a lot of users? Yes, they have, but you've got another 2/3 of the world to discover Facebook, for example. So I think we're living in an incredible time.
Absolutely. Looking forward to seeing what's happening. But yeah, I think this is just the tip of the iceberg. We're at the technological revolution, like the industrial revolution. We're just at the beginning of something that will go on and look back in history as a pivotal moment, and it's gonna keep going from here. So exciting times. I'm looking forward to riding the wave and seeing where we end up, and making use of all the modern advancements. As long as Elon keeps going, you never know where we're going to end up.
Exactly. But well, we've gone an hour and 5 minutes now, Andy.
Right, we've done well, haven't we? I can't believe that. We've gone from just about every subject you can think of. I just want to say, Chris in the chat says, my brother Lewis is watching for the first time, so shout out to Lewis. How's it going? Sea Dogs brother, I hope you're doing all right. Hope you've enjoyed the show so far, and thanks for tuning in and watching with us. It's good to have you on board, and hope you come back and watch again. But thanks everyone in the chat as always. Thanks for your thumbs up and your shares, and telling anyone that you know about the Reseller Show who's maybe not a viewer. We appreciate anyone tuning in and adding to the community and giving your own thoughts and opinions, and maybe helping out others as well. It's what it's all about. It's a community. It's all for us together to participate and collectively make our businesses stronger. So
and I just wanted to also a shout out for you guys that maybe don't join us live on a Monday evening, and you may be watching back later on in the week, or you're listening back on the podcast. We really do appreciate you. I think we've got over 100 regular listeners to our podcast now, which is awesome. So really, really appreciate you guys. Any thumbs up, any comments, any shares. Obviously, it goes a long way for myself and Andy, and it's just a pleasure to hang out with you guys. So whatever you're doing, have a fantastic week. Be motivated, be inspired, and take massive action.
Woo! Cheers, guys. See you later.
See you later.